Circulation, the radar images that we're getting is to the west, and the velocity is also to the west. So that, I don't think that's a confirmed tornado. I'm going to step you back a little bit on that because it looks like that area of rotation is right here on the west side of Sampson. I know what you're seeing here. You're seeing this, but that does not align with where the circulation is. So this is not a confirmed tornado as I break down the radar. But there's a potential, certainly, for that to occur here. That actual circulation is to the northwest side here of Sampson. Very heavy rainfall, likely some hail occurring here as well. And then that Boeing segment from Sampson southward is where we're seeing that straight line wind threat. And those winds pretty strong here, likely over 50 to 60 miles per hour. That is now from downtown Sampson southward there on 87. This whole stretch of highway experiencing very high winds. These winds, straight line winds, are coming in from the west to east movement here. So very strong winds here. The pocket of circulation is just northwest of Sampson. This little notch here is the inflow. So there it is now moving to the east. So there's the inflow now north and west, or north and east, I should say, of Sampson. And that Boeing segment is coming on through Sampson. I'll go back to that. And again, we're not seeing that alignment here. That looks like debris. I understand what Zach is saying. It's just usually this aligns perfectly with where that circulation is, and we're not seeing that. That said, there is certainly that potential for this to become a tornado. This is a different look using the Eglin radar here, trying to get a really good grasp on where that circulation is located. These images update every 1 or 2 minutes from the Doppler radar. Normally, the whole suite of products will update at the exact same time. I'm talking the velocity, the storm relative, the reflectivity, the debris tracker product will all come in the same scan at the same time. So this is a different view, though. This scan looks to be a little bit behind the Fort Rucker scan, but both of them showing that very strong area of wind here, Sampson southward and eastward, all the way through the western part there of Geneva County. And there's been some circulation here on the western side of the city of Sampson. Jonathan in back, if you can turn off the IFB, I can hear you in my ear. Jonathan Director, if you can turn off my IFB, there we go. I'm getting some feedback in my ear, a little distracting to say the least. So there's a look again at the velocity view. That circulation right over Sampson and just to the east now. This is a pocket of very, very strong straight line winds coming on through the western part of Geneva County. That is north and west of Geneva and south and west of Coffee Springs. That area in light blue, winds in excess of 50 miles per hour. Zach, you are near Max 2. Put some wind speeds on there for us. There's the tornado warning cell because of this circulation right here, but this is damaging straight line winds occurring. So even if we're not seeing an actual tornado, we will be seeing these damaging winds 50 to 60 miles per hour. Let's pinpoint some of these colors here in light blue and almost white. They're showing up. That's to the west of Lytle, south there, and southwest of Coffee Springs. Let me kind of do this here for you real quick. Let me just grab the wind speeds here, and I'm going to plot some of these. And I think you clicked on something. I'm going to take this back and go back, and let's just try this again. I'm going to zoom in here, and let me just plot some of these wind speeds right here. Yeah, it's not plotting, is it?
No, I don't know what's wrong with it.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you back and then just another frame here. This is again, tornado warning cell, very strong winds here, and not only in Geneva County. I will say that this extends northward into Coffee County, also the southern part of Coffee County. So if you're watching us from Enterprise, this is also kind of a Boeing segment right here with very strong winds, and that is pushing into the southern part of Coffee County, and these strong winds extend southward into Okaloosa and Walton County. We have a live camera in Enterprise, the Enterprise Electronics Corporation camera that's on the west side, southwest side of Enterprise right here. It's looking to the west. I think you can pop it up, Jonathan, in the back, get an idea of what it looks like. So there it is. That's looking westward here from this area into this cell as it is approaching. Those winds are very strong with that storm approaching the western side there of Coffee County, and likely in excess of 50 miles per hour areas south here and at least 40 miles per hour areas north here. No severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Coffee County, but there is southward into Geneva County, and again a tornado warning as well with this cell. There's a circulation now to the east of Sampson. This area of bright blue, that is the core of the strongest straight line winds. All those winds pushing out in the same direction.
I got one.
We'll go Max 1. Let's go to Max 1 real quick, Jonathan, and let's pop up some of those wind speeds to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. We kind of know the color table in our heads, but there's a look there at 50, 55, 44 miles per hour. So in that brighter color of blue, at least 50-mile-per-hour winds. And again, there's some circulation there noted on radar. Let's go back to Max 2. That circulation not real tight, which is some good news. It's in this area now to the west of Geneva and north of Geneva, and then east of Sampson here. So there's Geneva, north and west of Geneva, now to the east of Sampson. Coffee Springs in this area is down to the south and west of there. Circulation in the atmosphere, that has prompted this tornado warning. What we're not seeing, and I'm kind of manipulating the radar here a little bit, we're not seeing that real strong gate-to-gate shear. That would be, yes, tornado for sure, but there's certainly rotation within this cell. Looks like the actual center of that rotation now is pretty much between Coffee Springs and Sampson, and then this area here is the core of really strong straight line winds. So between Sampson and Geneva at this hour, here's a better view, we're seeing that strongest wind come on through. So there's a look at Geneva. The very bottom of your screen, there's Lytle, and there's Coffee Springs. So this area blue, these are these winds kind of just accelerating very quickly here from west to east, and that pocket of rotation is in this area, basically right in the middle between Sampson and Coffee Springs right now. I'm going to take this a little bit bigger and just kind of show you what else we're looking at here, because there's been some bowing right here in the western part of Coffee County, the southern part of Coffee County. This is also expanding and strengthening. It's warm today. We've been in the upper 70s. The moisture return has been pretty significant today as well. Dew points climbing into the middle 60s, so we've got pretty good instability, energy in the atmosphere. The wind profile, not ideal for tornadoes, but it's pretty ideal for damaging straight line winds, and we are seeing that potential certainly here in the western and central parts of Coffee County. So if you live in this area, we have a bowing segment here. We've got some circulation noted southwest of Coffee Springs, a tornado warned storm that does include parts of Coffee County. If you live anywhere south or west of Coffee Springs, get someplace safe. Remember the trees outside. These trees, if they fall, are going to be falling from west to east due to these very strong winds. And I want to point out again, Enterprise, even though we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the city of Enterprise, we've got this very heavy rainfall and these winds here likely 30 to 40 miles per hour coming in now from the west and southwest. So you'll get that wind to rush in, then all of a sudden you're going to get a bunch of rainfall as well. There's a lot of rain and likely some, you see these pockets of red, dark red, likely some small hail in pockets as well. Coffee County here, southward into Geneva County. So we're watching this very closely. It's a lower end tornado threat kind of day, but when you have these little notches that develop, what happens is you get a bowing segment. You get the winds in the atmosphere really pushing out far and fast, and in response, the northern part of that creates kind of a swirl in the atmosphere. So these winds are pushing out and it just kind of swirls here, and that's how you can have a brief spin up of an isolated tornado. That's kind of the setup for today, brief spin ups, not real widespread, big damaging tornadoes. That said, of course, an EF0 tornado, if it hits your house, can be damaging, and that's the threat. We're not seeing, again, real tight circulation. We're seeing some broad circulation, so the tornado threat appears to be on the low side at this point. We'll go back over to that correlation coefficient, and just not enough there to say we've seen a tornado. There's certainly, a difference here around Coffee Springs, but that still is not aligning with where that cell is, which is some good news. So what that probably is, to be honest with you, is some dust and debris, bugs and whatnot being kicked up into the atmosphere ahead of that area of rotation. That can certainly show up on Doppler radar. Zach, you're analyzing as well. Are you seeing anything different from where you're sitting?
No, not at this point, but they did just trim back the tornado warning. So most of western Geneva County from just east of the Sampson area and then back westward toward the Covington County line, now clear of that tornado warning. It's now mainly just in effect for central and north central parts of the county, including Hartford. So Hartford, be in your safe place. If you get a chance in the next minute, make sure to seek shelter. If you can, or if you know anybody who's working outside, just make sure that you tell them to come inside here, but a look at our reflectivity. So this is our radar, still a Boeing feature, just not quite as impressive as what we've had about 10-15 minutes ago. It looked a little bit better, but it still is curving out, and that tornado warning will continue most likely for another 10 minutes maybe, and if trends continue, they'll drop this. But for now, that velocity scan, and you can look for the scan on different radars. We have access to different radars here. So there's one from Eglin, and it still shows some broad rotation right there in the north central part of the county, several miles north of Geneva. And then if you move it a little bit toward the south, and you're getting Fort Rucker radar, and that one still shows some gusty winds going through the area. And there's another tool here, storm relative winds, which give us a better idea of what's going on when you minus out the motion of the storm and just kind of see what's going on within it here. And that doesn't look impressive. So I think this is weakening. It was a quick tightening on the radar, and that's what prompted the warning. That tightening happened right there along the edge of that Boeing segment, just that extra curve, and that's what prompted this. And I think for now, there's not a tornado on the ground now as it looks. It could tighten back up again. It did have the appearance that there could have been some debris being lofted in the air. It could have been maybe some small branches or some twigs or leaves or something just being tossed up ahead of that line from those strong winds. So hopefully this just continues to weaken. And I've been checking different reports coming in of damage reports and things of that nature. I'm not seeing any that from this particular band of storms moving through. There was a gust of 44. That's not impressive, but that was near Florala there in Covington County, David. So that's about all we have to work with at the moment. So nothing too impressive, but we'll watch it.
Yeah, still a tornado warning cell there in Geneva County. This little notch right here is still worth watching. I've been analyzing the radar. That is just now south of Coffee Springs, right along 27, Highway 27 there. That goes south of Enterprise, southward to Geneva. So it's, what time is it now? 4:43. A lot of people on the roads trying to come home from work or school or getting their Friday evening underway. This cell here, right along 27, is not one to mess with. If you are anywhere in this area between Enterprise and Geneva, the best advice, stay put. If you know someone on the roads, give them a call. Say, hey, there's some circulation about 3 miles south of Coffee Springs on 27. Stay where you are and stay away from trees. That's something else to pass along. Or if you are out driving and you're encountering a really strong thunderstorm with very strong winds, just stay away from the trees. You don't want a tree falling on the roadway. And this roadway, of course, has a lot of trees kind of over the road in spots. So just a heads up there. Area south of Coffee Springs, still watching that little notch area, and that's why we have that ongoing tornado warning. And then we have straight line winds southward that have been gusting in excess of 40 to 50 miles per hour. The straight line wind threat has come down, but this storm is into an environment that is favorable for at least maintenance, if not strengthening at times. It's not to say the tornado possibility will be there the whole time, but the straight line wind potential really is not going to let up. And we're likely to see this until 7:30 in spots as this line accelerates across the southern part of Alabama and into the Florida Panhandle and points eastward. So watching for that potential of more organization of this broad area of rotation. It is south of Coffee Springs, now pretty much right along Highway 27. Southward towards Geneva, some gusty winds also. I will mention here, Enterprise, the rain coming towards you, that was the camera shot that you saw from right here, basically looking in this direction. That rain coming in is not really featuring a bunch of heavy, strong winds, which is some good news. But there's a lot of rainfall, heavy rainfall here in Enterprise southward. And you see pockets here of dark red. Those are pockets of likely hail. We have a hail product here. I'm going to plot this. This is usually a little bit old and it's not showing anything, but that's not to say there can't be at least some pea-sized hail mixed in here where we have pockets of dark red. I'm going to zoom in here just a touch, And we've got another layer I can kind of add to this radar to really give you some detail. And this is, again, pockets of dark red here. This is an area, for example, where there could be some small hail. And there's a little notched area here. There's a little notched area there as well. I'm going to switch back over to that storm relative velocity. Different views here, different radars. And what we're trying to do is just try to see if there's a good view. Let's see, that is not plotting for me. If there's just a good view of that rotation area, which it's not showing up real well, which is good. That means it's not real strong, but it's that area here just to the west of east, I should say, of Coffee Springs. So right there, trying to manipulate it, but it's this area right here. So now kind of between Highway 27 and Highway 85, that little area right there, south now and east of Coffee Springs. It's kind of the north central part of Coffee County. This is a distant radar, so this radar beam, which is down there at Eglin, is shooting kind of higher in the sky. These are green towards the radar site. These are reds away from the radar site, so there's that area of rotation, and that's why we have that ongoing tornado warning, and that's why we're continuing with our coverage here on television, because there is some chance for this area of rotation, which is right here, there's Coffee Springs, right here, using a different radar now, this area of rotation between 27 and 85, this is the area that might tighten up again and produce at least a brief tornado that will pass north of Hartford, looking out 20 minutes or so. Within this cell, I'll go back to the traditional radar, within that cell there's some very heavy rainfall, and there's a Boeing segment kind of taking place here to the north, and this is something else to consider as we track this line. Every time we see a Boeing segment form, there in response is a little circulation that develops to the north of where that Boeing segment is. So we saw this, I'm going to show you this. We saw this Boeing segment set up here in the western part of Geneva County, and this was right at the end of the 4 o'clock show. Right here, that was the Boeing segment, and I was telling Zach, I'm like, tornado, there's a chance of a tornado, and it spun up that circulation on the north side of this Boeing segment. Now watch as we've gone forward in time, that Boeing segment is kind of shifting northward. So here's the Boeing segment at this point. So we may see the new circulation try to form somewhere right in here, south of Enterprise. That would take it up there to areas south of Daleville in the next 20 minutes. And this is really a very fast-moving line of storms, and that's a pretty significant Boeing segment showing up on Doppler radars. That tells us, when you look at the radar too with the heavy rainfall, this storm is tapping into those winds at 18, 20,000 feet and bringing them down to the ground in the form of damaging straight line wind gusts, winds at least in excess of 40 miles per hour. And I'll tell you what, a 40 mile per hour straight line wind gust with the trees now being kind of leafed out, at least in spots, that can produce some tree damage and produce some damage to property as well. So we're going to watch here as we go through the next 20 minutes to see if this Boeing segment now gives birth to a stronger area of rotation somewhere in here that would carry into the southern part of Dale County and then maybe into the western part of Houston County as well. So this line, I'm going to go big view here. This line is not going away anytime soon. It will be carrying all the way through South Alabama. So if you are watching us here from Dothan, it is now 4:49. Heads up, this is a tornado warned, severe thunderstorm warned cell that is moving in our direction, and it's really not that far away from the city of Dothan. Zach, what's the speed, the forward speed on this line? Let's see if you can calculate that. Calculate it manually over the past hour from when it was a little south there, Florala, to where it is now. We're going to track that forward, just looking at that distance. That's probably only 30 minutes away from reaching Dothan. So we're probably looking at 5:20-ish, 5:30-ish when that line reaches Dothan. And again, this is a Boeing segment here moving into an unstable atmosphere, warm and humid all the way through Houston County, up into Henry County and southward. So we're really pinpointing here areas from, say, Enterprise to Ozark to about Headland southward. This is the atmosphere that is most favorable for damaging winds and perhaps some embedded rotation over the next couple hours as this line surges on through. And just seeing this Boeing segment here from now about Enterprise southward into the central part of Geneva County, this Boeing segment will likely hold together, and that puts a lot of cities and a lot of population in the path. in the next 45 minutes, including the city of Dothan, including Midland City, including Headland down the road here, including Hartford, Slocum, Malvern. All these areas will likely see this line come on through with winds probably in excess of 40 miles per hour. So you've got a little time here. You got at least a half hour, maybe 40 minutes tops in the Dothan area. If you have any loose items outdoors, bring them in. Get ready for this damaging line of winds to come surging on through with that potential for more rotation to tighten. This tornado warning does continue. This has kind of shifted away, at least in the short term, from a tornado potential situation to more of a straight line wind potential situation here, especially here as we look through the central part of Geneva County, including the city of Geneva and points just eastward, up there towards Hartford in time, and then up into about the Daleville area and Fort Rucker as well. Some heavy rainfall, gusty winds with that line of storms coming on through. So this is that Boeing segment that we're watching. We're not seeing the real tight rotation that we saw briefly by Samson. That is good news, but that potential for a brief spin up will continue, especially again when we see these Boeing segments form. In Geneva, heavy rainfall coming in. Not a ton of lightning now in the Geneva area. There's more lightning right in this area of Coffee County, south now and southeast of Enterprise. So within that area, you get good lightning. You've got cold air aloft, and you've got that hail potential. So heavy rainfall here in dark red and maybe some pea-sized hail mixed in as well. I'm gonna go back here to the velocity view, two different velocity views here. What we're trying to look at is any signs of a rotation area trying to come back. And I'm not seeing that. So there's a chance here this tornado warning will be expired. Probably could be expired at this point, to be honest with you. If you're just tuning in to us, I'm gonna take you back here just a little bit. And this is what prompted this tornado warning. That Boeing segment here, straight line winds, and there was that circulation that came on through the Samson area. That was at 4:30, and here's the evolution of that. The weakening has been pretty evident, but the straight line wind threat is ongoing. So there's the remnant circulation is right in through here. It's kind of for the moment transition into more of a straight line wind threat from the area just west of Hartford to about the city of Geneva at this point. We're not going to get a great look at the winds here because of the way the radar beam is coming in and the way these winds are moving, but we get enough of an idea here on radar to say, yeah, there's some pretty good winds still occurring here in the central part of Geneva County, and that's inside that rain. Basically, the heaviest rainfall will coincide with the gustiest winds as this comes on through. So Enterprise, improving conditions over towards Daleville, heavy rainfall. Southward, there's that Boeing segment approaching now the western part of Houston County, kind of the panhandle part there of Houston County, and that tornado warning is ongoing, should be allowed to expire. But this Boeing segment here, packing very strong winds, approaching Daleville, Clay-Hatchie as well. It's now through Coffee Springs. It is approaching Hartford, right into the city of Geneva at this point too. I'll zoom this map out just a little bit. So there's Geneva. Geneva kind of curving and arcing northward up there towards Daleville. We have this line of very heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in this area here, Coffee into Dale County and about to move into the western part there of Houston County. This tornado warning, again, should be allowed to expire or really should be canceled early because as we look at the velocity, we're not seeing any signs of an actual tornado. We're not even seeing any tight rotation. There's some broad rotation areas west there of Hartford, but certainly not tight enough to warrant a tornado concern at this point. But damaging straight line winds, definitely a possibility. We have a live newscast coming up here at 5 o'clock. So does that warning expire at 5? If it's not going to disappear before then, Zach, you know, but it should probably disappear before that. Hey, this is something worth watching too. That's right along 167 between Hartford and Enterprise. That's a pocket of likely hail. So some small hail there where you see that area in dark red. That is moving mainly eastward, really. If we go back here just a few frames and we go forward in time, it's moving basically eastward, maybe just a little bit north of due east. So this line, as we've been mentioning, this line is taking aim on the city of Dothan here by 5:30. It's 4:55 now. This probably will not take more than another 20 to 30 minutes to get to the city of Dothan. It is really accelerating pretty quickly, probably in excess of 60 miles per hour. And as that line comes on through, do look for that possibility of 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. So if you have an umbrella, a patio umbrella outside, bring it down. If you have any loose items outside, scattered across the yard, grab those and bring them in somewhere safe, because as that line comes on through, it will be producing some very gusty winds. We're at 4:55 here. Zach, did you find an end time on that tornado warning?
It looks like it could go till maybe 5 more minutes. That's what I'm thinking here. But it looks like it's going to expire at 5. So, yeah, maybe 5 more minutes, hopefully.
Yeah, until 5 o'clock. Yep, so that should be allowed, though, to expire early. Okay, back to Max 2. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to go back over to regular coverage. We have our live newscast coming up at 5. Again, heads up with this line, Daleville southward into Geneva County. That is going to be coming into the Dothan area by 5:30. We'll have live coverage coming up at 5 on WTVY. Are we on TVY at 5 o'clock or RGX? TVY. WTVY at 5 o'clock, and my director is helping me out in the background. So we'll see you there in just a few minutes right here on News 4.
This has been a forewarned weather alert.
Mic check, 1 2, mic check, 1 2, mic check, mic check, mic
Did
check.
look like.